to another episode of the Checkers or Wreckers podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host with the most, Carter Leonard. It is a single show once again this week, and welcome to episode 30 of the Checkers or Wreckers podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I wouldn't consider it to be the biggest milestone in the show's history, but episode 30 has officially arrived, ladies and gentlemen. But with every other episode that we have done on the show, we have a lot to uncover this week in this week's installment. So let's not waste any further time and let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. As always, with any beginning of every single week of every single episode, we start off with the weekend recap. The NASCAR Cup Series and Xfinity Series and Truck Series, all three touring series, made their kind of first trip of the year. So basically what I'm saying is that the trucks in the Cup Series are making their second trip to Kansas Speedway, or did make their second trip to Kansas Speedway this year, while Xfinity made their first of the year to Kansas Speedway. So let's get into the weekend, starting off with the Friday night truck race, ladies and gentlemen. Christian Eckes picks up his third win of the year for the 19 Chevy Napa Auto Parts Silverado for Bill McAnally Racing. This is Christian Eckes' fourth career win in the Truck Series. I remember that he won a Truck Series race with Thor Sport back in 2021. He went winless last year and joins Bill McAnally this year. And I kind of honestly lost track of how many races Christian Eckes won in his career. I thought he won a lot more, but no, this is his fourth career Truck Series win, and it also his third win of the Truck Series season. So it was a battle between Corey Heim and Carson Hocevar, who was my main pick to win, as you guys saw last week when it came down to race picks last weekend. So I had Carson Hocevar winning the race, and it actually looked like that Hocevar, albeit one of the fastest trucks during the night, it looked like that he was potentially going to win the race and pick up his fourth win of the year until a late caution came out. And actually, Corey Heim was actually leading the last part of the race, I should say, even though with Hocevar being one of the fastest trucks. And it was a wild restart between Corey Heim, Ben Rhodes, and eventual winner Christian Eckes, with Eckes pulling off some three-wide racing action between all three trucks, and Eckes was able to pull a hard last two laps to put himself out front to win at Kansas. But it wouldn't be the only time this weekend that we saw an amazing Kansas finish with some three-wide racing involved. But we'll get to that a little bit later. So congrats to Christian Eckes on another win this season, and he advances into the next round of the playoffs for the Truck Series, which I believe starts tomorrow night at Bristol. Now we get into the Saturday's events, ladies and gentlemen. It was the NASCAR Xfinity Series Kansas race, but it wasn't just any race for the Xfinity Series. It was the regular season championship for the Xfinity Series to decide who would be contending in the playoffs to see who would win the Xfinity Series title. And it was a battle for the last spot between the 48 of Big Machine Racing's Parker Kligerman and the 98 of Stewart-Haas Racing's Riley Herbst. Unfortunately for any Riley Herbst fans out there, bless your heart, Herbst had a lot of problems during the day, and I guess you could say it was a very terrible Herbst type of day. I'm sorry, I had to make those jokes. I attack drivers sometimes. I know. But for Parker Kligerman, on the other hand, he did what he needed to do, and he stayed inside the top 10, even scored, I believe, a top 5 finish. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, ladies and gentlemen. Feel free to comment on that. But Parker Kligerman did what he needed to do to advance into the Xfinity Series playoff. So the Xfinity Series playoff grid is set, and we will get to see who begins their championship hunt this weekend at Bristol. So that's where the Xfinity Series playoffs start this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. So Congrats to Parker Kligerman. And John Hunter Nemechek picked up his 6th win of the year. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I got that pick right. As you saw last weekend's race weekend picks, in episode 29, I picked John Hunter Nemechek to win the Kansas race on Saturday. I ended up getting that right. Just a solid domination day from John Hunter Nemechek. Nothing out of the ordinary for this 20 team at Joe Gibbs Racing. You know, John Hunter Nemechek was on cloud 9 the entire week. You know, being the Xfinity Series points leader, gets the announcement that he is going to drive full-time in the Cup Series next year for Legacy Motor Club, and decides to cap the week off with yet his 6th win of the season as he continues his championship hunt and continues to be looking like the championship favorite. So, congrats to John Hunter Nemechek on yet another deserving win. And also congratulations to Parker Kligerman for making the Xfinity Series playoffs. Now we get on to the Cup race, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just say that Kansas, once again, I have said this many times before when it comes to Kansas Speedway, Kansas never disappoints. And I will say those 3 words about this racetrack until the day I die. Because no matter what happens, every time when we go to this racetrack, whether it's a regular season or a playoff race, there is always something wild bound to happen about this race. But before we get into the wildness of it, let's get into the finish first, and let's talk about the winner. Tyler Reddick, a driver that we have been talking about for what I was seeing weeks now, and even talked about a lot last week during his really good run at Darlington, gets the job done at Kansas Speedway for his 2nd win of the year. But not only that, this win also locked him into the round of 12 in the playoffs. How did Tyler Reddick get this win, you might ask? Well, actually, he technically wasn't supposed to be getting the win. So, the whole thing about this finish was the last 20 to 25 laps of the race. It was actually his team owner, Denny Hamlin, with yet another great run. And obviously, me being the greedy person that I am, even though I'm not the biggest Denny Hamlin fan out there, I was really hoping that Denny Hamlin would win because, well, as I mentioned last week, that he was my pick to win. And it was so damn close. I almost went 2 for 3 on picks this weekend, which would have been, so far into the Trekkers for Wreckers podcast short history, would have been a new record. I've only gotten 1 pick right once and nothing else. I've not gotten 2 picks right in a single weekend, but hopefully my luck for that will change soon. Hopefully. But let's not spend reminiscing on last week. Let's focus on Tyler Reddick and how he got the win. So Denny Hamlin was leading the last 20 to 25 laps of this race, but when unfortunately a caution came out, which ended up restacking the whole field and, you know, not necessarily restacking, but regrouping the whole field and making them wanting to go out and try again. However, the leaders, including Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, and drivers like Kyle Larson and Joey Logano and Kyle Busch all went down pit road and just did their service. And the front row became very, very interesting when some drivers gambled taking 2 tires, that being the 43 of Eric Jones, which, by the way, very good job by him in that Legacy Motor Club group, as I don't know what it is as of late, but Legacy Motor Club is starting to turn it up. And this is kind of the same thing that we saw last year when it was still called Petty GMS, when they didn't start off the season very strong, but when the last 10 races came, boy, they really turned it up. And Eric Jones, this top 5 from him was no fluke either. This was on pure speed as well. So shout out to Eric Jones. But back to the finish of the race, it was Eric Jones and Joey Logano on the outside. And I don't think a single fan watching this race either at the track or at home was expecting either of those 2 to win, because the next closest driver that had the freshest tires or was just flat out faster than both of them was either the 45 of Tyler Reddick or Denny Hamlin or Kyle Larson, which we'll get into both of those drivers in a minute. But Tyler Reddick came, I believe, from 4th or 5th during the restart and just blew by Joey Logano and Eric Jones on the restart, making a 3 wide dive bomb move to get the white flag, and Reddick did not look back ever since. I don't believe that this was the only lap that Reddick led all day. Reddick was certainly in the top 5 all day, but I don't recall him leading a whole bunch of laps compared to other drivers in the field like Hamlin or Larson. But you know what they say, you can lead all the laps in the world, but what lap that really matters is that last lap. And for Tyler Reddick, he took that to heart, and Reddick just blew by both of them, taking his 2nd win of the year and 23XI Racing's 3rd Kansas win overall. So yeah, if you're wanting to bet on a team that's probably going to dominate Kansas, mainly the fall race, or at the very least, sneak by and win when no one's looking, I think 23XI Racing is your team. So, yeah, congrats to Tyler Reddick on such a very surprising win. I kept questioning to myself when Reddick was going to get back to victory lane, and I kept telling people, if Reddick could show the same amount of consistent speed that he had at Darlington and propel it into the whole, length of the playoffs, we could see Tyler Reddick going farther in the playoffs than we initially originally anticipated. Now, with the round of 12, for the round of 12 when it comes to Tyler Reddick, it's a very up and down one. There's Texas, Talladega, and the Charlotte Roval. Texas, of course, that being the fall race, he won last year. So that's a good confidence booster. Although that race was very, very wild, it's always nice to know that, hey, the last time you were at that track, you won, so you could probably do it again. Talladega for Tyler Reddick is not his best track. Moving on. But then you have the Charlotte Roval, and we all know how good Tyler Reddick is at road courses as of late. And, one of his wins this year did come on a road course. 3 out of his 5 career victories have come on road courses so far in his career. So who knows? He could win that race and propel himself into the round of 8. And then in that round of 8, if he were to make it, are tracks that he actually has done surprisingly well at. But for now, Reddick is only round of 12 safe. So congratulations to Tyler Reddick and the whole 23XI Racing organization with Denny Hamlin, Michael Jordan, and Kurt Busch. And, for all you Denny Hamlin fans that were upset that Hamlin didn't get the win on Sunday, Hamlin still technically did go to victory lane, but just as a car owner, not a driver. So congratulations to Tyler Reddick on his 5th career win, 2nd win of the year, and it will lock him into the round of 12. And with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for the weekend recap of this show. But I did want to get into, once again, another week, another playoff race, more playoff driver struggles. And boy, if Darlington wasn't enough, well, Kansas just added fuel to the fire. And it began on lap 4 of the race, where 4th place driver who started the race, Martin Truex Jr., I burped right there. Martin Truex Jr., one of the big championship contenders going into the playoffs this year, struggled on the opening laps of the race, and we didn't think much of it, considering that we probably thought, he was just shuffling back, he'll get back up there. But we realized very quickly that there was something even more wrong with the 19 car as he continued to drop the pace really, really quickly. And then on lap 4, heading down the back straightaway, going into turn 3, Martin Truex Jr. has a tire puncture in his right rear tire, making him slide up the track and into the outside wall, breaking the toe link, and his day was done just after 4 laps. And if Darlington wasn't bad enough for any Truex fans out there, Kansas just made it even worse. Because as of right now, according to the official playoff standings, Truex sits 7 points below the cut line. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Martin Truex Jr., driver of the number 19 Bass Pro Shops Toyota Camry for Joe Gibbs Racing, is sitting 7 points below the cut line heading into Bristol this weekend. I'm going to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. This really surprises me. And you guys could tell me. You guys could sit down and tell me that I could be overreacting and I could just be overthinking this and, this might just all blow over this weekend. But as we stand right now on the 13th of September in the year of our Lord, 2023, there is a good chance that Martin Truex Jr. could be a first-round exit. Imagine me. I like to consider myself the typical race fan out there. But imagine this. We're in a society where Martin Truex Jr., one of the best drivers this year, already 3 wins, has shown a lot of consistency, a lot of speed compared to last year. If you're a Martin Truex Jr. fan, although it's not necessarily up with the vibes of like a 2017 or 2018 or 2019 season, it's still a good season. It's still a championship contending season. But imagine me from the future telling you that Truex has a shot to miss the first round. You would have thought that I was out of my skull insane, that I was a buffoon and I didn't know what I was talking about. But as we all know, not just as race fans, but as sports fans, that is the cruel nature of the playoffs. It doesn't care who you are, how good you are, what record you have, what crew chiefs or players you have on your team. If you do not perform, if you do not win, you do not get shit. It's plain and simple. Now, I will admit, it's not all Martin Truex Jr.'s fault. He can't control a tire puncture heading into turn 3. And I don't know what was going on at Darlington, and I just thought, it's just an off week for Truex. I'm sure he'll bounce back at Kansas because he has a good history at that track. But I don't know if it's the luck of the draw or it's just some... I don't know. It's very scary if you're a Martin Truex Jr. fan right now. Now, I'm not going to go out and say that he's going to have a bad run at Bristol. I personally believe that he is going to rebound and he's going to make the round of 12. But if he were to miss the first round of the playoffs, and everybody has seen, everybody who has subscribed to me, everybody who follows this podcast has seen my prediction video of the playoffs. They know that I am Martin Truex Jr., and I'm sure everybody else out there has had Martin Truex Jr. in their championship 4 picks. If he misses the first round, if he has a bad run at Bristol this weekend, if he even as so much as finishes in the bottom half of the top 35, or God forbid DNFs, it's over. Once you're below the cut line and you put yourself in a bad situation, you're not safe. It's as simple as that. And I know a lot of people are going to sit back and blame the playoff system and this, and that, which we have done for almost a decade now. But there's nothing you can do about it, unfortunately. But, that's just how it works. I'm very shocked that Truex is 7 points below the cut line. Now, I know I'm spending a lot of time on Truex, and there were some other drivers that had playoff trouble. Bubba Wallace had a tire issue as well. That pointed him even more below the cut line. Chris Buescher was the reason why the last caution came out and set that overtime restart, as he had a tire issue as well. There was actually a lot of tire issues this weekend at Kansas Speedway, not just in the race, but also in practice as well. Kyle Busch was even a victim of it during practice, and he had to not go to a backup, but change the toe link and go to the rear of the field. And he had to start all the way back there. So yeah, a lot of playoff drivers this weekend, whether it was in practice or, the full 267 lap race, had experienced some tire issues. Some were more fortunate than others. Some got away unscathed, like Kyle Busch. There wasn't points on the line in practice, so he didn't have to worry about that. But Bubba Wallace, Chris Buescher, who is still safe, And Martin Truex Jr., who I did not expect to be below the cut line at all, and this current point of the playoffs at all, is now facing elimination. Mm. Mm-mm. Sorry, I had to get a drink of water, ladies and gentlemen, because I've been talking so much. But yeah, it is a real possibility that Truex can miss the first round of the can be bounced out of the first round of the playoffs. If that happens, me and everybody else's championship four predictions are gonna blow up wide open. Like, I did not expect this. And I'm not even going to make predictions on Martin Truex Jr. because, quite frankly, I don't want to jinx him. And I'm not a jinxer by any means necessary. But I have seen, what happened to Truex last year with the blown motor in the same race that his teammate, his former teammate at the time, Kyle Busch, got eliminated. And even though Truex wasn't in the playoffs, he didn't want that to happen. So hopefully that doesn't happen to him at Bristol, but I would be very surprised if Truex does not have a good weekend at Bristol. And I'm not saying it's one of his best tracks per se. There's better tracks out there for the 19 team. But, the reality of him getting eliminated is real. I know I'm sounding like a broken record at this point, but, I don't think many race fans really understand as of this current point that, one of the most consistent drivers can miss the second round. But that's the unfortunate nature of the playoffs. That's just the very, very unfortunate nature. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for that topic of more playoff drama for playoff drivers. So, maybe it continues this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if it did, whether it's pit road drama, DNF drama, below the points drama, below the cut line drama, or whatever you want to call it at this point. It's very crazy. It's very, very crazy. But with that being said, let's move on to some more positive news for any Noah Gragson fan out there, because it was just announced yesterday by NASCAR that Noah Gragson has been officially reinstated by NASCAR. It's been a while since we've really heard any updates, let alone any updates about the reinstatement process of Noah Gragson ever since the whole George Floyd meme incident that happened during the week leading up to the Michigan race, where he got indefinitely suspended by the team and then eventually NASCAR. And then later on, he announced that he would like to be released from the team, which Legacy Motor Club had no hesitation of doing so. And during that time period, Noah Gragson went through some training. I would believe some, counseling training or something like that, or whatever you want to call it, something like that. So, yeah, so for any Noah Gragson fanboy or fangirl out there, he's officially back. But as for his 2024 plans, that is still up in the air. We don't know what Noah Gragson is doing next week. And by the way, I want to throw this out there right now. And even though we're not on this topic yet, Noah Gragson is not going to Kaulig racing. Shut up. So, thank you. I just wanted to get that off my chest. Just because the announcement is the same week as Kaulig's announcement does not mean anything. No, it does not mean anything. But we do have an official statement from Noah Gragson regarding his response to the reinstatement, and it reads as follows. I want to express my sincere gratitude to NASCAR for reinstating me. Over the past several weeks, I have dedicated myself to personal growth and reflection. I believe I have become a better person because of it. I couldn't have done it without the support of my family in the NASCAR industry. I am now more focused and committed than ever to representing my future team in the best way possible. I'm eager to get back behind the wheel and compete at the highest level, giving it my all on and off the track. Thank you to everyone who has been a part of this journey, and I can't wait to make the most of this second chance. So, as with many people in the industry, including myself, I will say this. Yes, I do believe Noah Gragson is worthy of a second chance. But just like I mentioned about 5 episodes ago, when this whole suspension breakdown, I questioned to myself, well, who's going to give him that chance? You know, is he even going to be in the Cup Series? Is he going to be in the Xfinity Series? Is he going to be in the Truck Series? Which I have no doubt that he will be racing full time next year. But as for what division exactly, that is still up in the air. Because me personally, I would go down the, not necessarily the Matt DiBenedetto route, but, more so, I don't even know what driver to compare it to go down a route, but basically reinvent his whole career. So I wouldn't mind him seeing him in a truck ride next year. I think that's probably the best step. I don't think he's going to be going back to Junior Motorsports. I think Junior Motorsports already has their plans done for next year, which we'll actually get to Junior Motorsports later on because they had an announcement to make regarding one of their drivers. But yeah, as for Noah Gragson, I don't really believe that he should have gotten indefinitely suspended for liking the meme. But at the same time, I do believe that he should have been punished because, you have PR representatives who tell you what you can and cannot do on social media, during commercials, this, and that. And Noah Gragson broke one of those rules and he had lack of awareness. So, hopefully he did learn from this. Like I said, and I'll mention it again, I believe Noah definitely deserves a second chance wherever he may goes. But to say that for anybody who believes that he's immediately going to get back into the Cup Series next year, no. I hate to burst your bubble, but that's yeah. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I just I don't see him being back in the Cup Series. Xfinity and trucks, I could definitely see, but Cup, due to basically all the open rides that are currently open as of this current point are being finalized right now, and Noah Gragson really doesn't have any sort of sponsorship with him as of this current point. So, yeah, don't expect him to be in the Cup ride. So, keep it Xfinity and trucks as your main expectations. But, whether you like Noah Gragson or not due to, either him winning or his very, very interesting personality in the sport, for anybody who likes him out there, it's really great to see him back. So, yeah, for all the Gragson fans out there, not including me, glad that you're back, Noah, and we can't wait to see what you could do in the future. Now moving on to our next topic, ladies and gentlemen, and oh man, it just seems like everything that NASCAR does that the fans want, they complain in the end. So what am I talking about exactly? Well, it was announced earlier this week that for the upcoming Charlotte Roval race in the round of 12, NASCAR announced that there will be stage cautions for that race. And it was very surprising because as of this year, ladies and gentlemen, is the first season since the stage era, since 2017, that NASCAR has not had stage cautions on any road courses. This was the first year that we experimented with it. Stage points were still handed out after the end of each stage, but a yellow flag was not flown to bunch up the field and restart it. So obviously, a lot of fans liked that idea at first, and a lot of people advocated, including myself, that we need to probably do it everywhere else, like no stage cautions at any other, at every other track besides road courses. But since then, mainly the Watkins Glen race, which was the last road course race that the Cup Series ran on, up to this current point. There was no stage cautions, and quite frankly, Watkins Glen was, in my opinion, not one of the most exciting races of the year. And that was mainly due to the stage cautions. And a lot of people actually didn't actually like the idea of no stage caution simply because of strategy reasons. And now all of a sudden, NASCAR fans decided, we're bored of this, let's make it entertaining. And then NASCAR says, okay, we'll bring stage cautions back. And they're just like, no, no, why would you do this? This is not what we asked. My boy, you literally asked to make it more interesting. And not that there's not any other better alternatives out there, I must admit. You can't always expect that to be the case. You have to understand something, is that we can only do so little. Personally, I really don't mind the idea of stage cautions back. There's some things about this sport, I'm going to be 100% honest with you as a fan, that I just don't really either care about, or, well, there's some. Let me backtrack for a second here. Let me rethink my whole thinking process. I thought no stage cautions would be a very interesting idea. I'm not going to lie, and I'm sure a lot of other fans would have tended to agree. But I didn't really get bored of it per se, but I can't really speak for everybody else involved, who watched the road courses this year and were just like, this is boring. We need to bring this back. But as soon as we bring the original, step or alternative back, all of a sudden, it's a big issue. It's a very, very big issue. And I don't know what really pleases NASCAR fans anymore, because we have done some really bold and innovative things in the past few years that have been really, really good for the sport and actually have gotten us a decent amount of attention. But when we try to make a simple idea that we did at first work again, all of a sudden the fans are complaining once again. Yeah, don't be surprised when people are going to complain that the Brickyard 400 next year may or may not be bad. So, just want to throw that out there. But, yeah, so that's going to really be interesting. But a lot of people don't like it, especially at the Charlotte Roval, simply because we have seen how crazy and chaotic the Charlotte Roval has gotten. It's been like that since the race's inception in the fall of 2018. But, I consider the Charlotte Roval to be one of my favorite tracks on the schedule. It just creates a wacky and entertaining, feel to it, especially during playoff time. And I know a lot of people are just like, well, I want pure racing, not wackiness and chaos. Listen, we could have pure racing all year long, but just give me some wackiness every now and then. That'd be cool. I'm sure every other sports fan or NASCAR fan out there loves wackiness. You got to have your wackiness in your life. It's just, it's wackiness. Wackiness, people, wackiness. Support the wackiness. But yeah, so one of the main reasons, as I was getting into why they don't like it, is because it stacks up the drivers heading into turn one, which, by the way, is one of the sharpest corners in all of NASCAR, because it's such a very, very heavy braking zone, and because during the restarts, you don't actually take the chicane that's in the infield into the restart zone. You just go through the regular straightaway into the front straightaway like you would normally do during a regular Charlotte race. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, we will no longer be doing that. Guess what? During restarts, the restart zone, the Geico restart zone, is now moved inside the chicane. So, yeah, we don't have to worry. So, yeah, what I just mentioned on how the restart process at the Charlotte Roval works, yeah, guess what? That doesn't matter anymore, because we're going to use the actual chicane for restarts. Yeah, quite frankly, not the best idea in the world, because there might be a lot of stack up. So yeah, I quite frankly don't like that idea, but yeah, just yeah, but I can understand why a lot of fans don't like this move of no stage cautions and the moving of the restart zone into the chicane. I'm very curious to see how it's going to work once we get to the Charlotte Roval race, which that's not until October next month. So we'll see how that goes. Now moving on to our next topic, ladies and gentlemen, and is once again the silly season chronicles, as I like to call it. But we do have some very big news that was dropped to us on Twitter today, and Chris Rice, the team president at Kaulig Racing, didn't really announce anything, but showed a picture of him shaking a race car driver's hand, and the caption said Friday. So that officially means that Kaulig Racing is set to make their 2024 Cup Series announcement this Friday. So, we all have been speculating for the past few weeks on what Kaulig Racing's lineup is going to be, who is going to drive the 31 car next year after Justin Haley departed to Rick Rare Racing for next year. And we still have questions about AJ Allmendinger and if he will return to the Cup Series or head back down to the Xfinity Series with Kaulig Racing, because AJ says that he will have a fire suit with the Kaulig Racing patch on it, but he didn't specify whether it will be Cup or Xfinity. So the 16 car for that team is still up in the air, but I bet that this main announcement will be about the 31 car. And ladies and gentlemen, by the telling of this picture, and we're really judging this driver based off of arm hair and markings on their body, I can 100% say without a shadow of a doubt that this driver that's shaking Chris Rice's hand is none other than Daniel Hemrick. Not the most exciting driver in the world, I must admit. I wasn't really expecting anyone too crazy, so to speak. I knew Chandler Smith wasn't going to be, getting this ride because he's not ready yet. I originally thought that Austin Hill would be a lead candidate for the ride until he signed a multi-year deal with RCR to stay in the Xfinity Series. But then, I started questioning myself, okay, well, who could be some decent candidates to get in that ride? And, Daniel Hemrick was a name that popped in my mind, but I was like, well, yeah, it's Daniel Hemrick. It's Daniel Hemrick. Obviously, he's the 2021 Xfinity Series champion, albeit that being the only race that he won that season. But hey, he won when it counted most. But he's been with Kaulig Racing in the Xfinity Series since last year, posting up some very mixed results here and there. I don't think he's made the playoffs this year or last year with Kaulig Racing, which is a surprise considering that he did it with Joe Gibbs Racing. But, of course, Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series is way better equipment. But Daniel Hemrick is a solid driver. He has a full-time year of Cup experience back in 2019 when he drove the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing, and has since laid back in the Xfinity Series ever since, driving for teams like Junior Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing, Kaulig Racing, and now he's going to get possibly another Cup Series opportunity with, Kaulig Racing, this time full-time. He actually did make part-time starts in in Cup last year in the 16 car before that was a full-time ride for this year. So, I can't really say that, excuse me, I can't really say that Kaulig Racing really had too much of a choice on who to go with. Yeah, like I said before, Chandler Smith, he's a very talented prospect, but he's not ready yet, so you got to give him time. So you got to give a guy who really has a lot of experience with your team, who's a really experienced driver overall in the top 3 Touring Series, and that is Daniel Hemrick. So, yeah, congrats to Daniel Hemrick. I know the announcement is not officially official yet, but if I had to bet on who is going to be in that 31 car, precisely judging off of that picture alone and arm hair, I'm willing to bet that that would be Daniel Hemrick. So if that is Daniel Hemrick, all power to him and good luck to him for the rest of the way and for the rest of this season. But also, when we talk about one driver in silly season, we have to talk about another one, and that is Zane Smith, as he has a major announcement that he announced on Sirius XM radio that I was listening to earlier, is that he has his 2024 deal set, and he signed the contract of whatever he's going to drive for, whoever he's going to drive for earlier this week, and he actually hopes to make his announcement this week regarding his announcement. But before we get into that, Bob Pockrass of Fox Sports actually released a very interesting tweet regarding Zane Smith and his future plans, where he has been talking with several Cup Series teams, which is really no surprise considering the fact that it's been widely speculated that Zane Smith will possibly be in the Cup Series next year, as he's made some part-time starts with Front Row Motorsports. Front Row Motorsports is no longer a big option as of right now, considering that their lineup will stay the same for next year. They did want a third car with him in there, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen due to charter prices. So, unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. But going back to what Bob Pockrass said about Zane Smith is that he talked about how he has been talking with Trackhouse as one of the main teams. And that's actually really surprising to me because, Zane Smith, I don't know if he's necessarily considered a Ford development driver because he was originally a Chevy development driver, and who knows, maybe Chevy's just leasing them off to Ford or something like that. I highly doubt that considering Ford's big love for Zane Smith. But imagine Zane Smith at Trackhouse Racing, ladies and gentlemen. That would definitely be a team to watch out for, because you have Ross Chastain, who is just, he's Ross Chastain. He's a very talented driver, but also one of the biggest personalities in the sport. You have Daniel Suarez, who isn't one of the, best drivers in the field, but he's definitely a solid driver in certain, aspects. So, yeah, Daniel Suarez, he was the original driver for Trackhouse Racing, and, yeah. But imagine if you had Zane Smith to that roster, because Zane Smith is considered to be the best prospect in NASCAR as of right now, according to, multiple reports and prospect rankings, according to Bob Pockrass, and, rightfully so. Zane Smith, I don't, quite frankly, shit. Lost my train of thought, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, I don't know exactly where Zane Smith is going to go. There's been multiple reports on where he could go to. Let's debunk the Trackhouse thing first. It's very interesting that he has been talking with Trackhouse simply because, I'm sure Trackhouse has had big plans of expanding. Justin Marks has said in the past that he is, he wants a third charter for the team. But as of right now, like I mentioned earlier, with charter prices, that's not necessarily going to happen per se. But here's a theory out there that many people would say would happen. Since Trackhouse couldn't necessarily give Zane Smith a third car, there is a possibility of them signing Zane Smith, but also loaning him to a different team. So basically, he might be, let's just say, this could very well happen. Let's just say, for example, since the 16 car is up in the air for, not literally, sorry, AJ Allmendinger fans, but let's just say, the 16 car is like up in the air for in regards to who's going to drive it next year, whether it's going to be AJ or someone else. Let's just say Trackhouse does sign Zane Smith and they put him into God dang, excuse me. They put him into that 31 car, the 16 car, and basically it's a uh, third Trackhouse car in a sense. Like, he's going to be given a decent amount of equipment compared to the 31 car, and he's going to be looked at as a main priority, not just with Kaulig, but with Trackhouse, loaning him over. And then when the time eventually comes where Trackhouse is somehow able to get a charter somehow, depending on if the charter system exists or however else they're going to get a third car, they'll put Zane Smith in that third car. That is a very, very good possibility that could probably happen. And in my opinion, I think Zane Smith, regardless of what team where he's gonna go, whether it's, Trackhouse Racing being loaned to Kaulig Racing, or hell, the still very real option of him being at Stewart Haas Racing in the 10 car due to Eric Almirola possibly retiring next year. All of those options that I just laid out on the table right now are real possibilities, but one of those deals has gotten signed, according to Zane Smith. But as for right now, we don't know. So he's working hard to get an announcement going. So, Zane Smith came on SiriusXM Radio saying that he's very happy that he is still going to be having a spot in the sport, in which he should, because, one of the most talented drivers in the sport, why wouldn't he have a spot open? I mean, come on, let's be real here. I mean, we saw what he did in his part-time start with Front Row Motorsports. While they were up and down for some parts, there has been some highlights where he got a top 10 in the Coke 600, which that was very, very impressive by him. But wherever Zane Smith goes, I think that the team that's getting him, whether it's Trackhouse, Kaulig, or Stewart Haas Racing, I think that they got themselves a winner, and I think that they're going to love Zane Smith, till the bitter end. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see what the future of Zane Smith holds. But there is one thing that I can really guarantee. I could sit back and really speculate on what the deal is. Like, I pointed out a theory earlier just now, but it wasn't really my definitive prediction. And quite frankly, I really don't have one. But all I could say is this. Whatever Zane Smith is doing next year, it's going to be in the Cup car. I'm calling it right now. I mean, who knows? Maybe he might be in an Xfinity ride next year. I personally don't think he needs it, but you know what? If he does end up landing there, that's fine. That's fine. But honestly and truthfully, if anyone should jump up from the trucks to Cup as of right now, compared to anybody else in the field besides Carson Hocevar, it should be Zane Smith. So, yeah, whatever Zane Smith is doing next year, Zane, I wish you the best of luck, my friend. I've been a very big fan of yours since you came into the Truck Series back in 2020. So good luck to you, man. And yeah, I can't wait to see what the future of the Zane Smith saga holds. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we get into some more silly season news. Well, technically, it's not really silly season news, but it is a return announcement, and that is Sam Mayer announces that he will return to Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity Series for the 2024 season. Obviously, not a major surprise. It's been, rumored for the past few weeks now, and I didn't really see Sam Mayer or anybody else, getting the one at anyone else but Sam Mayer getting the one at at a Junior Motorsports. But here's what I am really thankful about when it comes to this deal, and that is the fact that Sam Mayer, although he's in his second season of Xfinity Series competition and he has won races, this gives him more time to develop, and I'm really glad that Dale Jr. is letting a very potential young talent, take his time in this series. Hopefully, we'll see a championship run with Sam Mayer next year. You might never know. Yeah, this is a very good move on Junior Motorsports and Sam Mayer's part, because I do think that Sam Mayer needs at the very least another year before we even consider him to be Cup Series ready. Yeah, you know, congrats on Sam Mayer for announcing this, and good luck to him for the rest of the season. He will contend for his first ever Xfinity Series title because he is a playoff driver and he's locked himself in on wins. Now moving on to some Bristol news regarding some pit crew changes, and that comes in the Richard Childress Racing camp as that Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon will swap pit crews for the Bristol night race. And this is a very interesting thing if you're a Kyle Busch fan like myself, because everything else but the fuel man for the number 8 team will change. So basically everybody from the 3 team except their fuel man will jump over to the 8 team and do the 8 car, and the other guys will do the 3 car. Basically, that's how a pit crew swap works. So it's a very interesting decision. A lot of teams have done that before or during the playoffs. We saw, before the playoffs, it was announced that Ty Gibbs would switch his pit crew with Christopher Bell's pit crew, which, by the way, Gibbs's pit crew was the fastest pit crew in the Cup Series during the North Wilkesboro All-Star Pit Crew Challenge, which was won by them, the 54 team. So, it makes sense to do that to help out another playoff driver who needs some help, because Christopher Bell, compared to Denny and Martin as of right now, is kind of not necessarily the low-hanging fruit, but when it comes to playoff drivers in the team, he is the low-hanging fruit. So that's kind of what's happening for RCR, even though Kyle Busch is literally the only driver on that team to make the playoffs. And this is and by the way, this is actually the first time in Kyle Busch's career where he has made the playoffs and he's not had a single teammate join him. This is the first time in his career where he is all by himself and none of his teammates join him into the playoffs, which is kind of shocking, but not at the same time, considering, Kyle Busch has, always had a team effort around him, this, and that. So, I'm very interested to see how this pit crew swap works. The 3 pit crew, I haven't really heard much about them, are they good? Are they bad? Are they, in between? Like, I need an answer. I need an answer. That's all I need. I just need a yes or no answer. So, very interesting to see how that's going to play out for them this weekend. But, good luck to, both the 3 and the 8 teams, and let's see how their pit crew swap works. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the final segment of the show, and that is race picks. And this is one of the most anticipated weekends in a long time, ladies and gentlemen. And it is Bristol Night Race weekend. I was in attendance for this race last year, and let me just say that the Bristol Night Race is definitely, if you're a NASCAR fan and you have a bucket list of tracks to go to, the Bristol Night Race or Bristol Motor Speedway, the last great Coliseum in general, is one of those places to go, primarily for the Bristol Night Race. And let me just say, last year was truly an amazing experience for me, albeit very sour and bitter because I saw my driver get eliminated, but that's neither here nor there. It's truly an amazing experience, and I would definitely go back to it in the future. But regarding Bristol Motor Speedway this weekend, I forgot to mention this earlier with Bob Pockrass because I was talking about him so much, is that obviously we have had a change to the short track package this year, where we added the shorter spoiler, changes to the underbody, to the rear diffuser, and we even added depending on if it's sunny or rainy, a windshield wiper, because we can run rain tires on short tracks now. But however, when that short track package was announced and was going to be, implemented this year, it didn't say that it would include Dover and Bristol as well, because Dover and Bristol are although they're short tracks, they are two high banked concrete ovals. So the package that you have been seeing at like Martinsville or Phoenix this year, you will not see at Bristol this weekend. It will still be the same 4-inch spoiler, 670 horsepower package, and same rear diffuser that we've been running on mile and a halves, with a few tweaks here and there. So just wanted to get that out of the way. But before we get into not before we get into it. Let's get into the official race picks, ladies and gentlemen. For the Truck Series race, it is the UNAOH, University of Northern Ohio 200, ladies and gentlemen, for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. It's the beginning of their second round of the playoffs. Who is going to win that race? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been really looking at this pick, and quite frankly, it's been a no-brainer. And what I've noticed over the past few shows when it comes to Truck Series picks, I've been flipping back and forth between two drivers, that being Carson Hocevar and Corey Heim. Well, I am not going to pick either of those drivers. Instead, I'm going to go for a driver who actually won this race last year, and although he got caught doing something illegal a few weeks ago, I do believe that this team is going to be really fast when unloaded off the truck, and that is the 98 of Ty Majeski. So, my Truck Series pick at Bristol this weekend will be the 98 of Ty Majeski. You know, Ty Majeski in the playoffs is just undefeated at this point. So, yeah, that is my pick to win the Truck Series. Friday Night Lights, ladies and gentlemen, is for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, their first race of their playoffs. Who is going to win that race, you might ask me? It's a very interesting race because, you know, there's a lot of good short track racers out there, and quite frankly, one driver really sticks out to me as the favorite to win this race, and this is actually a very surprising pick for, you know, this race, because he's actually won an ARCA race here, and it was actually last year that he actually won this race in the ARCA Menard Series. I'm going to go with Sammy Smith. I know Sammy Smith. Actually, you know what? Scratch that pick. I'm not going to do that. Nope. Scratch that. I am not going with Sammy Smith due to his last 7 races. Although I am a Sammy Smith defender till the very end of time, his last 7 races have not been good, quite frankly. But instead, I'm going to go for a better alternative and go with the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Yeah, I'm picking the veterans tonight. You know, I'm going with Majeski. I'm going with, Justin Allgaier. So, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, by the time you're watching this, the truck race is probably going on right now, as this episode was pre-recorded before the release of this episode. So, just wanted to point that out for you guys. But now back to the show. Justin Allgaier is going to be my pick for Friday's race. So, Justin Allgaier will punch his ticket into the next round of the playoffs. Then we get to the Cup race Saturday night. Thunder Valley, the Bass Pro Shops night race. Oh boy. This is a very interesting race. Last time this race was held, Chris Buescher was able to get the win, and Chris Buescher is now at this race under better circumstances because he's a playoff driver, and if he were to win this race, it locks him in to the next round of the playoffs. But do I want to pick Chris Buescher, or do I want to pick someone who is actually really, really good at Bristol? Someone who actually has a decent amount of wins at this concrete bowl, the last great Coliseum. Although he's had struggles with inconsistency for the past few weeks, I believe that their short track package has gotten better since they were at Richmond, which, by the way, was the last time that this driver ever scored a top 5. Ladies and gentlemen, my pick to win this weekend at the Bass Pro Shops Bristol night race is Kyle Busch, a 9-time winner at this track. 8 on the concrete, 1 on the dirt, 9 altogether. I don't give a shit. Kyle Busch, even though he is in a very, very good points position as of right now, because he started out the playoffs finishing 11th at Darlington. He got a top 10 after rebounding after a wreck at Kansas, so he got a top 10 finish, so that was good for him. Even gambled on the last restart, restarting fourth. But, however, I truly believe that this is where the 8 team is really going to shine. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I just have that gut feeling. That's it. I just have the gut feeling that Kyle Busch is going to get it done at Bristol. He could wreck in practice for all I know. And, again, for the third straight week in a row. But, however, once you go to Bristol, ladies and gentlemen, one driver that's always going to be brought up is Kyle Busch with the amount of wins that he has had at that facility. You know, we know his history with sweeping the Bristol races twice, you know, but he will be safe in the next round if he gets this win. So, yeah, those are my picks this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. I have Ty Majeski winning the truck race, Justin Allgaier winning Xfinity, and Kyle Busch winning the Cup race. So, yeah, those are my picks, ladies and gentlemen. Very interesting picks. I would love to hear what your guys' picks are. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below of this episode. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Checkers or Wreckers podcast. This is Carter Leonard once again. Thank you for listening into episode 30 of the show, ladies and gentlemen. As always, we will see you next week as we preview the first round of 12 race at the god-awful, Texas Motor Speedway, ladies and gentlemen, as we preview on who made it into the round of 12 and who unfortunately didn't. So, that'll do it for this week's episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, this is Carter Leonard, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.